Hey guys, it's Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we started off The Ambassadors of Death. What was that about?
We literally don't know. I mean, it's a great title, Ambassadors of Death. We're 4 episodes in. We have no idea who they are.
Yep.
Okay, but here's what we do know. Mars probe supposedly comes back to Earth, but the 3 astronauts appear not to be who they are supposed to be. When they bring them back down to Earth, they turn out to be there's some aliens in the spacesuits, and that's where all the confusion is starting because we don't know what's going on from there.
They are beings that survive on radiation, and they have radiation powers, and there's like this whole conspiracy about them. Like there's like this whole group of people that want to use it. We're not really sure why they want them here.
I mean, it's very suspenseful. It's very good. We've enjoyed it so far, but we seriously have no idea where it's going.
Yeah, and
they did kidnap Liz for a while. Did she get away, or did they get her back again?
I think she might have still been there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think they still have her. The doctor... What was the doctor working on? He was like working... they had like some device thing. I think it was like a communication thing, because like you can only give basic responses. I think the doctor was working on that.
Yeah.
And then...
Like a television remote control.
Yeah.
Here, go forward, go back, go forward, go back.
And then the Brigadier... Well, the Brigadier's just doing his Brigadier thing anyway. So, but yeah, I don't... Actually, I do sort of remember the last cliffhanger, which was there was Sir James or whoever, the minister. Yeah. He was dead, and the doctor found him, and then the doctor was about to get attacked by one of the dudes in the spacesuits. So, I guess one of the ambassadors. Yeah. So,
I think we kind of compared this to the Faceless Ones. It was very intriguing, but we literally have no idea where it's going.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we don't know what's going on, who this group is, why they want these aliens. If they do want these aliens, there's also, like, tension within their own ranks. Like, there's some people that don't like this, some people that are clueless. It's a whole thing. It's a very...
And somebody was sent with a bomb in a suitcase to kill the doctor, but he was supposed to have a timer on it, and then the guys in his own organization set the timer to 0, so when he opened it up, it blew him up, but didn't kill the doctor.
Right. He, like, took most of the blast, so the doctor didn't really get hit. So, although they did intend it to also kill the doctor, it just didn't work. Yeah. So, there was that, too. So...
I'm reading the description there. It says, the doctor prepares to pilot the Recovery 7 ship.
Well, they did mention that they were going to... Because presumably the original 3 astronauts are still up there.
Yeah.
So, up there in the Mars probe. So he was going to go do that. So, probably should... I will say, though, we probably shouldn't be reading descriptions. I mean, that is spoilers. We're trying to give our genuine, honest reactions. But that didn't tell us anything that we didn't already know.
Because, he had already said that. And we already know Troughton piloted a spaceship at one point, didn't he?
Yeah.
And also flew a helicopter.
Yeah.
And then Pertwee drives a car, so...
Yeah, so... there was also that point where they were trying to steal the shuttle... with the truck, and then the doctor stopped them.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and
magnetized his car.
It wasn't even like that. Like, I think he had like a force field, and the people got trapped in his own force field.
I noticed that they were holding on, and they didn't ever loosen their hands from the car, so it looked like it had magnetized them.
Yeah, it was very strange. There's also a lot of James Bond stuff going on right now.
But again, several people, I think, in the comments have said that that somebody that was involved with Doctor Who was a friend of Ian Fleming's.
Yeah.
And that's why Pertwee is... And because they're locked on Earth now, for at least the foreseeable future, they needed to do some more kind of, what was very popular at the time, which was spy stuff, and with a little bit of science fiction thrown in, so...
Yeah, so that was a good recap. So, today we are watching the next 3 parts of The Ambassadors of Death. So I guess, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then let's just go ahead and jump right into The Ambassadors of Death. Here we go.
Deflected by some kind of force field, I should think.
So
there's no way of stopping them.
Not with bullets.
There are other methods, Brigadier.
Again, that's a very Soviet-looking outfit.
Which is weird, because the British sent them up.
Yeah.
So,
What's the rate of fuel?
No, you don't take off your gloves until that door is
Had
closed.
a busy time.
I mean, they kind of just left that door open.
One touch from him and down they go.
No one resisted?
They tried. Bullets just bounce off them. With these three, you could do anything. Walk into Fort Knox and help yourself.
Well, that's what
That's
you're going
the
to do
plot
with
of
them, is it?
Goldfinger.
I might. Keep feeding him radiation. I've got a lot more work for him to do.
Now, they've got a really strong force field. But what if you go at high speeds in a car and run right into them? What do you think happens?
Well,
Someone needs to try that.
either they bounce off.
You're working for a murderer.
I guess it's possible if a bullet can bounce
I
off.
don't believe that.
It's recovering.
So Regan can commit more murders. You're the only one who can stop it. I'll have to get a message out.
I'm
You
also
know that's impossible.
Yes,
wondering
but
if
you're allowed to use
they've
it.
added
All the
an
calls are
extra
monitored.
partial
You'll have to
wig
go
to
yourself.
Liz there, because she looks like she has way more hair now, too. Also noticing both in the Space Center and here this difference in levels in the set.
Well,
I can only tell the Brigadier. How long will he be?
He'll be back as soon as he can, sir. I'll get you a cup of tea and something to read.
No. No, thank you. Lock the door, won't you?
Yes, sir. I'll lock the door.
Have we seen Benton before? He
Report
seems
on
somewhat
astronaut
familiar.
readiness, please.
well.
How's the fuel situation?
We now have 50% inboard, and we'll switch to the M3 variant at 65%.
Well, can't you hurry it up?
You can't hurry the M3 variant.
It's highly volatile.
He just leaves
Well, I still
without
think you
them.
could add a high proportion of M3.
I like that he's impatient with primitive rockets. Oh no, Tim. So, 1970, this is before the whole, hey, hands where I can see them.
Yeah.
They hadn't invented that yet.
Of course, this looks nothing like an actual rocket launch.
Oh, yeah. This is probably that exact same factory they keep filming at.
Yeah.
Oh, what did he do that for? He had the high ground.
And there would be cameras all over this area that no one would let him get up there.
Yeah.
Convenient sign that says M3 variant on it.
I've turned one dial. Now this rocket won't go.
All at go.
Oh, now he's got to turn 2 dials so that the rocket doesn't go.
Very end? ENT?
Meh.
That can't be right.
Why is this stuff just out here? Maybe that's the reason why it's Soviet suits. They couldn't make their own because they're incompetent.
I brought you some food.
Oh.
It's a tire.
I'll try.
Lift-off speed now 37% in excess.
Computer calculates capsule will go into sun orbit in 15 minutes.
And now, John, we need you to make your face like a pancake.
No, there's no response.
A large unidentified object is approaching you on collision course.
Take evasive action.
You wouldn't be able to hear it. In space, no one can hear your engines.
Maybe they are the death that the 3 suits are the ambassadors of. Okay. Well, a bit of a more simple episode, but still good. Still good.
And again, kudos to them for getting a vaguely reminiscent factory type thing with lots of tall buildings, so that they can at least give the impression that the missile's actually there.
Yeah.
The rocket.
It does beg the question, why is this stuff all out in the open for one guy to go tamper with?
Yeah.
Well, and especially, too, if you've got this big launch coming up, maybe put more than one guard on it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Now, theoretically speaking, most everybody would be evacuated because when that thing blasts off, the flames and smoke and everything coming out of the bottom of them. For example, down in Cape Canaveral, Cape Kennedy, the closest you can get is like 3 or 4 miles away because of that massive amount of thrust coming out of the bottom of the rocket.
Yeah, so that was just... And this is just like... What is it, like 7 miles outside of London? So... It's... That does seem like a bit of... I mean, I guess I don't know if London has anything. Or just outside of it. But I'm going to guess no.
No, I would suspect that if Great Britain was going to launch on their own, they would do it... Again, the best place to do that is as close to the equator as you can get.
Yeah.
And there's... In the 1970 era, I think there's still British Guyana. I don't know if that's an independent country now. There's British Virgin Islands.
Well, I mean, because I was going to say, can you blast off on a rainy day?
Yes, it's not recommended.
Yeah.
But you can. There's certain temperatures that you don't go below. That's what happened with the Challengers, that the O-rings between the rocket segments had frozen up the night before, and even though they were starting to melt, there was a hole blown in it, and that's what caused the whole thing to blow up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense when you go to Florida. They're very consistent with their weather, you know, other than like a hurricane.
Yeah.
You know?
But because of the way you want to get the capsules and everything in orbit, literally anywhere close to the equator is your best shot.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if you're going into orbit, orbit is the equator, at least I would imagine. So probably best not to have to travel all the way there and then get yourself into orbit.
In fact, I think the French Space Agency actually launches from what used to be called French Guiana. So actually, considering everything, I would imagine in 1970, Northern Australia would probably be a good place to launch from, because it's on the south side of the equator, but would still be closer than anything else that I can think of.
Yeah. But this is Doctor Who. It must be London. So,
well, again,
London or the countryside. So,
yeah, you need someplace out in the countryside. And again, I would say the western part of England, Devon, Cornwall, that area would probably be the best place, because again, I would suspect that's where the least amount of population is.
Yeah. So, I was also thinking for this, like, it would have been funny if the Doctor just took off anyway, like before everything was complete. Yeah. And he's just like, oh, well, I know exactly how to use the fuel properly, so that I don't need as much.
Yeah.
So, and then he just bypasses the sabotaging altogether. Then we had Lennox with, was that a bomb or
well, it looked like somewhat of a grenade, but yeah, I imagine it's something.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an isotope. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, it might have been that. Because my first thought was, okay, if it's some sort of bomb or something, so put that in a corner, put all the stuff over it, put the table over it, put your bed over it, and then get to the other corner and hope that will let you survive.
Yeah.
So, it could be just... Of course, how do you sneak that in? How do you sneak an isotope in? Where did this guy come from? This guy that, he's dressed up in a uniform, but he's clearly taken the uniform. I don't know. So we're going Star Trek the Motion Picture on this.
That's almost 10 years after this.
Go to the light.
Don't go to the light, Doctor. Grandma's waiting for you.
Nah. We don't want to regenerate again.
Like he's walking down a giant esophagus.
Yeah, this is very strange.
But again, kudos for the green screen work.
You're prisoners in an alien spaceship.
Oh, come on.
You came up here in Recovery 7, but you never made the journey back. Something happened.
Something happened?
Yes.
Why have you not returned our ambassadors?
Ambassadors?
An agreement was made. You have betrayed us. Unless our ambassadors are returned, we shall destroy your world.
Maybe they're cool. It's just an all misunderstanding.
The alien looks like the mummy with dreadlocks.
No.
Anything happening?
The Americans are sending up an unmanned satellite. Did this man Lennox tell you anything?
He's been murdered.
Ah, dang it.
In your own headquarters.
Someone put an isotope in his cell.
It was an
Having a great
isotope.
deal of success, are you, Brigadier?
You see, there were elements of insecticide in that mud. We're now checking all the areas where that insecticide is used.
This isotope that killed Lennox.
That's pretty smart.
Have you checked on that?
It's part of a consignment sold some months ago.
Who was the buyer?
A bogus company with an address that doesn't even exist.
You've been very thorough.
He's asking a whole lot of
Urgent message.
very suspicious questions.
Unidentified object have ceased.
Nah.
Doctor's on his way down, is he? I did my best to stop him going up.
Beginning to sound a lot like
Sure you want him
Cornish.
dead. All right. I'll see to him.
Because only 3 or 4 people in that
Your
control
friend the
room knew
doctor's
it.
on his way back from a little journey.
We know it's not the Brigadier. It's probably not one of the technicians.
Drop speed now 30 miles per hour. And
So you're saying because he knew that the doctor was going up?
No rectification needed.
I mean, I guess General Carrington also knew.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the bakery truck that changes its shape, or its.
Yeah.
we have touchdown. We have touchdown.
Why are they letting a
Disconnect
bakery
batteries.
van in? Why is he allowed so far?
Yeah.
How do these people keep getting in?
Nobody sees any of this.
Nope.
What do you know about this doctor, Mr. Cornish?
Only that he's an associate of the Brigadier.
Exactly. Well, Brigadier, where does this man come from?
That's difficult to explain, sir.
Comes from the island of Nunya.
Several years.
Nunya business.
On and off. Arm every available missile with atomic warheads and blast that thing out of our sky.
Isn't that a bit extreme?
It's our moral duty.
Well, he's clearly evil.
I think the general's a bit overwrought.
I think he's insane.
No trouble at all. Your Dr. Fenn's as dead as a doornail.
Not that there's anything dead about a doornail.
I should have thought a coffin nail was the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade. Don't get me started.
None the better. I think the General knew all along.
You're not surprised to see me?
Not particularly, no.
I'm surprised to see you, Doctor. My instructions were that you were to be killed.
Then somebody disobeyed your instructions, didn't they?
I'd have to attend to the matter myself. I'm sorry, Doctor. It's my moral duty.
So, it's General Carrington.
Yes. He's keeping the ambassadors of death.
Almost did a spit take there.
I knew as soon as I paused, I was like, this is a horrible time for me to do this, but... But the they're the ambassadors of death. Not exactly a fair, thing to put.
Yeah.
Like, these seem like they're a perfectly reasonable species, and you can kind of understand, hey, you're holding our people hostage, we're gonna take offensive actions, so... Maybe a bit of a jump to go straight to destroy the entire planet, but but it's you understand it. You understand why they're doing this. So,
this is really way out in left field, but I'm reminded of the story of the original Count Dracula, Vlad Tepes. Some ambassadors came to his court. I want to say they were from Turkey, who were his enemies. And he insisted that the ambassadors take off their turbans And they said, we can't do that, sir, in our country, in our custom. We must always have our heads covered. And Vlad said, but in my country, where you are, it is customary to remove your head coverings in the presence of the leader. And they said, we're sorry, but we cannot do that. So he had them taken out into the courtyard, and his people nailed their turbans to their heads so that they couldn't take them off. So, I mean, this is that unequal reaction to what's going on here. You won't return our ambassadors, we'll destroy your planet. It's like, wait, is there something in between?
Yeah, like, I understand taking action against Earth for holding them prisoner, but there's got to be something smaller you could do, I was very curious when you started that off. I was like, well, it reminds me of Vlad Tepes. I was like, does it now? How is he going to get around to this? So,
there's all sorts of wonderful stories about the real Dracula. I mean, again, the legend of him being a vampire is like literally the least interesting thing about him.
Yeah, that's just sort of something they added on later.
Yeah.
Although interestingly enough, in the Netflix Castlevania series, they do go with Dracula the vampire formerly being Vlad Tepes. So like you go to his castle and there's just all those skeletons up on spikes and everything. Yeah. But then they go into, well, he's getting old, he's kind of tired, so he doesn't impale people as much anymore. He ran out of people. Now he just drinks their blood. So,
but he's one of those people that made grand gestures. I mean, his army was probably going to be overwhelmed in that war, and he wanted to do something that would send a message to the Turks that, if you try this again, this is how you end up. And it was very effective. When they came in and literally thought that they were marching in on a forest, and then they realized that the forest was really just a bunch of stakes and that their advanced soldiers had been impaled on them. That was gruesome.
Yeah. So, and then it's, again, to sort of tie that to Dracula, the Dracula Untold movie.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird. Like, they tried to paint him as like, he's this good family man and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know if you can really do that. It's like when you're trying to make a story about Vlad the Impaler, first you have to start off on that. Now you're actually trying to make him into Dracula the vampire. You really can't make him a good person. Like, he should be the villain of that movie.
But again, what I thought was they were going to try to do with that was to show him as a man who thought, this is what I have to do for my country. That in order to save my tiny little country from this gigantic empire that's going to invade me, I have to do something that other people would consider to be, in league with the devil.
Yeah.
And again, for the longest time, it actually worked. He built up this reputation, and he reveled in it because he said, okay, people can hate me and say I'm the son of the devil if they want to, but I will keep my country safe. Yeah. And as an actor, when you have to play a villain, you can't get up on stage and say, I'm going to play this villainously, do the old hand wringing and evil laughing and Dr. Evil stuff. Villains believe that they're doing the right thing, right? They have that sincere conviction that other people may not like what I'm doing, but I have to do this because it's the right thing to do.
So anyway, we're watching Doctor Who.
Oh, Lord.
About halfway through that, I was like, wait a minute. Ambassadors of Death. We've gone off again. We've gone off script. So...
As if we ever had a script.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how you would do a scripted reaction. That just sounds weird.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole purpose, is that it's not scripted.
Yeah. Do you ever watch any of the other reactors?
Yeah, there's a couple reaction channels I've watched. I don't watch many classic Doctor Who reactions, though.
And I keep seeing in the comments every now and then somebody says, most people don't react to classic. They always do the new stuff.
Yeah. I think there's like a couple who do classic. I think there's someone who does like 2 episodes at a time of classic, which I don't know how they do that. We're doing it at a max of 4 per week, and even that, it's going to take us years to try to get through the rest of this.
Didn't we at one point try to get through more than 4 at one sitting? Because I remember at some point we did something where we did like 6 in an afternoon.
Well, yeah, before this was a regular thing, we never split up an episode. Like, if it was back, when I was between Doctor Who seasons and we were just doing like a group of 4 episodes in a row, we wouldn't split those up. So, and sometimes it would be, 7. I mean, that first Dalek serial was 7 episodes, and I don't know how I edited that video to be the length that it is. But I remember, if you go back to that video, I think after the 4th episode of that, we just stop and we're like, "Want to get lunch?" Yeah, and we just walk away, and then it just cuts to when we're back after lunch. So we used to do that. It was horribly exhausting. And,
yes, we were so much younger then.
Yeah, we'll never do that again. Well, especially too, just because that takes forever, and I'm doing a lot more videos than I used to. Yeah. So yeah, the max is 4, with the occasional, like, I remember the Mind Robber was 5, but they were shorter episodes anyway. So, yeah.
When do you expect this invasion?
At any time.
They told me that their intentions were peaceful. That these 3 beings here were ambassadors.
Ambassadors? That was just to put us on our guard.
It's just a
Their intentions
bad
are
first contact.
Why else? They killed Jim.
Oh, not Jim.
Jim Daniels, fellow astronaut, simply by touching him.
So they didn't know that their touch would kill human beings?
Now they've walked into my trap.
Sir James Quinlan in on this?
No. He just wanted the political glory of being the first to arrange contact with an intelligent alien species.
It's a little too late for
He
that.
didn't know of my plan to save the world. He wouldn't have understood.
What about Van Leyden and the other astronauts? The human ones?
I didn't know either. It was the only way.
Oh.
Wasn't this the plot of Star Trek Into Darkness?
You've been very thorough, General.
We must protect the world. It's our moral duty.
This guy's sounding a lot like
Will you help us?
the general in Doctor
I'll hold
Strangelove.
your machine for you.
Splendid.
If he wants to stop alien invasions and stuff, you'd think he would have tried to take over UNIT, because they do that.
Instructions for you. You're to raid a number of isotope stores. Have I? Everything you need here. Passes maps. Just follow your orders.
Oh yes, the isotope stores. Just past the Conoco.
Do our British fans know what Conoco is?
I said that with only 5% certainty they have that. They probably don't.
It's a petrol station.
Nah.
I'm not building a crystal set, you know.
Do you know what a crystal set is?
No.
It's an early version of a radio. You used to buy them, you could make them at home and then get rock and roll stations and everything on your home radio. I wonder if the pirate radio stations were still operating in the 1970s. The British, some of the British regular stations didn't want rock and roll, so they banned it. And somebody set up a ship just offshore and put a radio station on it and broadcast rock and roll all over the UK. If I recall correctly. Oh, isotope storage, not necessarily stores as in convenience stores and places like that.
Well,
once again, British English and American English come in contact. Yes, we keep radioactive isotopes in wooden boxes. Oh, I'm sorry. That's funny.
We keep them with the same packaging as leg lamps from Christmas Story. I was gonna say you should have come out guns drawn, but I guess they don't have those.
I don't know if they would have had them by then or not. Oh, didn't kill them though.
Oh, well, that was nice.
Worldwide hookup won't be ready for another hour yet.
You must speed it up. Get on to your people. This is an emergency. Wakefield.
What are you going to do? See if I can speed up the broadcast, of course.
Dang it, Wakefield. Try to be a bro.
I've suspected you for some time. All your unit people have been locked up and replaced by men I can trust. Take him away.
How did that happen? We didn't notice.
I borrowed a staff car.
Or couldn't we use that?
Sergeant, that engine stopped quite a few bullets. I barely made it here. Well, there must be some kind of transport.
Sir, there is the doctor's car.
Oh, that's funny.
So weird that they wrote that in too. Like, they'll drive the doctor's car. Good job, boys. You know, it's times like this I miss Jamie.
Oh, did toss him off a cliff.
Good job.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, and now we're all going to ride either in the bakery truck or in Bessie.
Or both. Yeah, they took both.
Wonder if that's just like an ordinary tunnel, and they put all this stuff up in front of
I'll
it
move across to here.
just for
Get
the
your camera in close on this
for the
creature.
use.
And my man will forcibly remove his helmet.
Maybe like
I
a
want the world to know what
disused
these
tunnel.
monsters look like.
It's no good, General. I've released my men. This place is in my hands.
Good
I
job.
must make this broadcast. It's a matter of world survival.
Doctor, I need your help to communicate with the ambassadors.
Well, you are. Here's Miss Shaw. She's much more practical than I am. Bye, Brigadier.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye, Doctor.
Goodbye, gentlemen. Have a nice trip.
Nice set.
This place is bigger than I realized.
Geodesic dome.
You know, that was always the thing with Troughton, is that he would always just slip away and never deal with the aftermath. Apparently he's still just... The doctor's still just doing that. He's just walking away.
And he says, I've got stuff to do in my own laboratory. What's he got to do more important than getting these three guys back up to their ship?
He's got to work on his car. He's got to work on the TARDIS. Okay.
Well, thoroughly enjoyable. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you know, we're looking at this 50 years on and going, oh, that's not right, that's not right, that's... But for a 1970s science fiction, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And again, taking that whole science versus military approach, you got the, you know, crazy general, the one who feels it's a moral obligation to save the world by destroying the aliens, even though he doesn't know who they are or what they want.
Yeah. He just assumes, because they were on Mars before the humans, that, oh, well, they're clearly trying to conquer the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's no reason to suspect that.
And have we asked whether or not these people know about the Ice Warriors? Aren't the Ice Warriors on Mars?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they did, like, meet them, everything was okay, then the Mars probe came down, they were going to go look at it, and then one thing led to another, and then here we are. So... I mean, yeah, because we have established a species that lives natively on Mars, so for them to also be on Mars is, I don't know, it's just a tad bit strange, I guess. So, alrighty.
So, what do we got here?
Well, first off, we have Lennox, who wasn't... I mean, he didn't do much once he just died.
Well, he was trying to be a Fusium, if you're, you know, with the Ice Warriors. You know, ultimately saying, you know, I'm only, you know, working here because they need somebody. He said, you know, I don't go along with this, but he does try to help, and then, you know, ends up getting killed for it.
Yeah, which I'll just go ahead, because the next thing is about the rocket and the sabotage. Let's just go ahead and jump into this. The security here was awful.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it was mostly unit security, which we already had last video. We were talking about, you know, how a bunch of... Honestly, they were still, I guess, kind of just, you know, street thugs, basically, hired by Carrington to fight UNIT. But they took out a good number of UNIT men. It's like, UNIT's not looking too great, you know.
Yeah.
And it really is just in this episode, because Spearhead from Space... and what was it, the Silurians, like they seemed pretty fine in that one, but this one where it's like, no, it's just some thugs. And
now, was the Space Center under UNIT's security control or under the Space Center's security?
Well, because
I don't remember if the guy that, you know, got whacked so that the guy could go up and inject too much M3 variant. I still don't understand why that was.
I think that was a UNIT soldier.
Oh, okay.
So, So yeah, I mean, there's also the whole thing of just this space center. Like, why is everything just out? Where like, someone can just walk over there, twist a couple valves, and then suddenly it doesn't work. You know?
I will say this: having lived on military bases about 20 years of my life, you could get in relatively easy. What we had was usually a sticker on the car, and when the guys at the gate saw the sticker, they would salute you and let you in. But if you did not have that, you were stopped and questioned. All right. Now, again, if you had a legitimate purpose, you could say, I don't know, but there was usually some way. You had to have some way of entry. If you didn't have a pass of any kind, you would say, I'm here to see, General Carrington, and they would call Carrington and say, General, we have a man here in a, blue Volkswagen, and he says he's got an appointment to see you, and Carrington says, yes, let him in, and that's the only way. But letting the bakery truck in.
I was about to say, let's say you're a bakery truck, and you don't have a maybe they had a sticker, but, I mean, I guess if they have all this technology to change their license plate and change their sign and everything.
Weren't they like a plumber first, and then they switched to bakery? Yeah,
they had some device to switch it. I guess it's not too far out of the realm of possibility that they got a military sticker.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if a bakery truck drives over to you, I feel like even if there is a sticker, you kind of stop and be like, okay, now why? Because this isn't a military base; it's the space center under protection of UNIT. So you would think someone would call up Brigadier. There's a bakery truck here. It's like,
and
what?
If the bakery truck is not going to the commissary or to the post exchange or to one of the restaurants, whether it's the officers' mess or the non-commissioners' officers' mess, bakery truck driving out to the place where the rocket's about to launch, that would send up some signals.
Yeah, like, how does nobody notice? It just...
Okay. Other than that, I mean, if he had parked the truck somewhere like at the base commissary or at one of the restaurants and then ran over to do that work, that would be one thing. But driving the truck right there, I realize they're doing that for convenience, but we're looking at this from a post 9/11 world that's saying, wow, that would never happen nowadays. But
I suppose that's true.
That might have happened back then.
Ironically, we're watching this on 9/11
on
too.
9/11, yes.
Yeah, on the 20th anniversary. So, I guess that's true. There's a whole. I mean, security is so. I mean, and especially at airports too. But security is so tight, after 9/11 and stuff. So, I guess maybe in 1970, maybe they were a bit more lax. But at the same time, this is UNIT. You know that there are suspicious things are happening, especially after the Dr. Taltalian died. And the fact that Regan got in twice. Once was to sabotage the launch. The second was to pump in this gas to try to kill the doctor. Yeah. So I don't know how that worked. It's not a good showing for UNIT, basically.
And again, you may not remember this, but when we went to see Disney World, we drove through Montgomery, Alabama, and we drove through the base that my dad used to be stationed at, Maxwell Air Force Base there. And we were stopped at the gate, and I literally had to explain, my dad was stationed here back in the 60s, and I went to Maxwell Elementary, and we just I said, I know exactly where it is. And I don't remember, but they gave us a visitor's pass. But that's the whole thing is, I mean, I had to show my ID, and Mom had to show her ID, and the whole works. And then they gave us a little temporary pass to stick on the dashboard, so we could just go in and take a look at because we would never have been allowed anywhere near the flight line or anything that was military. We were just going to see that little civilian elementary school. So,
I do remember, and this is one of the dumbest things that still, I acknowledge it's stupid, but it still technically makes me mad to this day. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I'm thinking what you're thinking.
So the Kennedy Space Center. First there's context we have to have for this. So, before we went to the Kennedy Space Center, we went to the beach.
Cocoa Beach.
You found a dead cell phone.
I stepped on a dead cell phone
in the ocean.
It was about 2 or 3 feet underwater, and we pulled it up.
And I was a young boy. Very young, right?
Literally like 4 or 5 years old, yes.
And so I thought this was the coolest thing on God's green earth, was this dead cell phone. And so we go, I don't know, like the next day,
Yes,
or
literally the next day.
The next day, we go to the Kennedy Space Center, and they have their security, and that's all fine. They take my dead cell phone, because I had it on me because I'm a kid and it was cool, and so this was, I don't know how old I was back then, but this is still early 2000s. Like,
yeah.
Cell phones were still not really a thing.
Yeah.
So it was the coolest thing, and they took it away, and they kept it.
That's what I didn't understand. They wouldn't give it back.
They completely confiscated it, and and maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but I think I was devastated.
You were traumatized by it, yes.
Yes.
I know. I was, because when they said, because I don't even know that we knew that you still had it in your pocket or anything.
Yeah.
But when they took it, we thought maybe we could get it back on the way out, but for some reason, they just kept it.
Yeah. And I'm saying yes now. I'm 24 years old now. Does it still make me mad? Technically, yes, but I acknowledge it's stupid. Like, okay, yes, they had their security and stuff, and I was a little... But it's just a whole string of things that it's the fact that they kept it.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, even now, I'm still like, well, that's just stupid.
Yeah, there's no reason they should have done that.
I'm getting a little heated now, even just talking about that. But yeah, but security... Yeah, but security, yes, is a major thing. But that was just stupid. I had that phone. It was absolutely dead cell phone.
I think we bought you a little toy phone after that.
Yeah, but it was the coolest thing that I had for maybe 24, probably less than 24. If that was the next day, that was like early in the morning and everything. Anyway.
So, we love the NASA Space Center, but shame on security.
Other than that, it was lovely.
A dead cell phone away from a toddler.
It was, and it's one of the, and you know me, I've inherited your horrible memory, but that is one of the few things of my younger years that I still remember. So,
yeah. And here's what's really strange: the highlight of that trip was you getting to meet Mickey Mouse and getting your picture taken with him, and you don't remember that at all, do you?
Only very vaguely. No, you want to know what I remember from Disney World? I remember the rain at Epcot. the greatest torrential downpour I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, could not... you held your hand out in front of you like that, you couldn't see your fingers.
Yeah,
it was that heavy.
I do remember that. I might remember the heat of that day going to see Mickey Mouse. Because that was...
We had to stand in line for about 15-20 minutes, and it was probably in the 90-degree temperature range and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
And your mom and brother went and got ice cream while we waited through the line. But I do have a picture of 4 or 5-year-old Alex standing next to Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
that was the highlight of your trip.
If I remember, I will... And this is going to be difficult for me to remember, but I will try to put that picture up on screen now. So, but it's what I needed after being betrayed by the Kennedy Space Center. Anywho,
where were we?
So, okay, that's good enough on the security of UNIT. We'll see. We'll try not to complain about it too heavily next episode, unless they really still suck. So, anywho, we had the Doctor going up in the spaceship in the Recovery 7 and landing on their spaceship, which... once he got into the spaceship, it was alright. It's just this little room and stuff. But that place where he landed, that was really trippy. That definitely reminded me of like V'ger from the motion picture. So
there was another Star Trek episode that had, I think it was called the Doomsday Machine. That was very similar. Had that big long gullet that it looked like you were being swallowed.
Yeah, and it's very interesting here. Again, it's a very good effect for this episode. It's just very strange, walking towards the light, as they said. And then he just like opens the door and it's like, oh, here's just a normal 70s looking room. Like, all right. Well, that was strange, but then we meet the aliens. They never got a name.
No, they're
just aliens. We can't even call them the ambassadors because they had specific ambassadors. So there were the ambassadors of peace, not of death. I guess the ambassadors of death title comes from, that's how Carrington perceives them. So, yeah. So they're just ambassadors. I mean, it's basically just First Contact gone bad, basically.
And again, I like the way it was either episode 5 or 6 there, where Cornish kept asking all of these questions of going, wait a minute, is he the guy who's in on it? But then very quickly it became very obvious that it was Carrington instead. Yeah,
definitely. So they do sort of make sure that you don't figure it out immediately. Yeah. So
again, very good writing. Was it David Whitaker?
Yeah,
nicely done.
Yeah, this is another one of those we don't remember what other stories he's written, but I'm pretty sure he's written good stories. Yeah. So, but the whole thing was return the ambassadors or the world will be destroyed. Which, again, yes, it's sort of a. You have to jump to that immediately. Like, I understand maybe taking offensive action, but especially when they show up later and like, we have the capabilities to destroy your planet, that just sort of feeds into Carrington's whole, we must destroy them first.
Now, I had 2 minor flashbacks there. One is Men in Black, where is it the Archelians say, return the galaxy or we will destroy the Earth, and they don't even know what the galaxy is. They don't realize it's on Orion's belt.
Yeah.
But the original version of The Day the Earth Stood Still, a single alien arrives on Earth to try to get mankind to understand that we are beginning to notice you out in the cosmos, and we think you are really, really dangerous. And of course, they have that gigantic robot. I think it was named Gort. And basically they are intergalactic policemen, and ultimately says, because we have seen your destructive tendencies, the fact that in the last 20 years you've developed nuclear weapons and now you're transporting yourself into space, we have to warn you that if you do not change your culture, we will be forced to come down on you really hard. So it's just some minor flashbacks in there. Of course, this is way before Men in Black, but it's about a decade or so after The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
So, but again, very subtle weaving of that stuff in there. And again, Dr. Strangelove, I had to do it was the morally right thing to do. You got these people who are so, righteously indignant that they're willing to start a war that we can't win because they feel that they're right. And it's just, that's frightening.
Which, I mean, I brought this up. This was sort of like Star Trek Into Darkness with that whole thing with Admiral Marcus. He wanted to start war with the Klingons. I don't fully remember why exactly. Like, there was nothing, but that was the whole thing, was that he was going to set it up. Like, he knew war with the Klingons was inevitable, but he had to push Starfleet into it.
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing of he wanted Kirk to fire on the Klingon homeworld because of... James Harrison, the name they give him so as to not spoil, but everyone knew. Yeah. Everyone knew going into that movie what the twist was. So
now, talk about conspiracy theories. There are people who believe that Franklin Roosevelt knew that war was inevitable and that he allowed the Japanese to attack Pearl Harbor so that the Americans could get into the war. I'm sorry. I know that there are people who are ruthless politicians, but I can't believe anybody would allow that to happen. Of course, there are people that say the Bush presidency, the Bush administration allowed 9/11 to happen so that they could go to war.
Which, and that just, I guess, sort of, we've now circled back to 9/11 somehow. That is weird too, just because that's almost sort of a dark meme now. Just the Bush did 9/11. It's like, what? Those are just words you're just saying. But it's like, like that is
the underpinning. The thing that gives that any credibility whatsoever is that Dick Cheney, the vice president, was this guy who was running a huge oil company called Halliburton, and that it was basically a back channel scheme to get the war started in Afghanistan, then spill it over into Iraq, because then we could go into Iraq and we could take over all those oil reserves, and the United States would never have to worry about, dependency on foreign nations for oil. That is so far-fetched, because there's not another country in the world that would have allowed us to do that. If the United States went in there and suddenly started essentially neutralizing the people and culture of Iraq and putting our own culture in there, we would have been, a literal pariah around the planet. No one would have anything to do with us if we had done that. So, it's too far-fetched to believe.
Yeah, conspiracy theories. I feel like if you ever just start with, I have this theory, it's like, okay, I've got like 10 grains of salt, but I'll listen. I mean, it's the same thing, and this is slightly off topic of that, or kind of, but I mean, even when I just hear like theories within fiction, like I have a theory about this, and it's like, do you now? That's going to be a little, that's a bit of a stretch. Don't know if they'll go there.
Yeah.
So,
like between Troughton and Pertwee, there's a whole nother.
Yes.
Sorry, didn't mean to bring it up. Sorry.
Yeah, there's that theory there, which the last little thing about that is, you said why wouldn't they show up in the Three Doctors? Then obviously they wouldn't have been made yet. They wouldn't have been created yet. But there is, someone brought up, it could have been that whoever was between 2 and 3 didn't call themselves the Doctor. Similar to the War Doctor. We all call him the War Doctor just because that's who we know, but he didn't call himself the Doctor until the very end, in Day of the Doctor, so there could be that.
Is he considered to be like 8B?
I mean, yeah, he's the 9th regeneration, but he's not the 9th Doctor specifically.
Because Eccleston would be 9, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Eccleston is the 9th. Eccleston is the 9th version to call himself the Doctor.
All right.
So they really had to swing that in order to get. And also the whole thing of that is just because the only reason they brought in John Hurt and made a new Doctor anyway was just because they couldn't get Christopher Eccleston back for that for the 50th anniversary. Otherwise, they would have just had him.
Yeah.
So
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Where were we?
Yeah. Let's see. Lennox died because of an isotope.
They poisoned him to death with radiation.
Yeah. I still want to know. So they never showed that officer's face. So I assume it's, Regan getting into, getting past unit security again. Where do you get the uniform, though?
And why wouldn't Lennox have recognized him?
Yeah.
Wasn't Regan there at the facility?
Yeah, so it must have been someone else.
Yeah.
But who would they have that Lennox wouldn't recognize? Yeah. I don't know. That just sort of...
Again, these are minor things. Overall, the story is great. It's really interesting. But yeah, because we're sitting here picking it apart, that doesn't mean we didn't like it.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, if we had watched this over 7 weeks, we would have forgotten all about that week to week.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we forget stuff watching like night to night when watching some of these shows. Like, but actually, I remember, I think it was season 5 of Arrow, where early on they introduced a character, and then he came back like 10, 12 episodes later, and you had completely forgotten who he was. Yeah. And I reminded you. Then he disappeared again, came back another 5 episodes later, and you forgot who he was again. So, probably week to week you would have forgotten that.
Well, you must remember that not only do I have short-term memory problems, I also have short-term memory problems.
That's true. So, I did like how Regan was just sort of in it for himself.
Yeah.
Like
in it for the money.
Yeah, he was just gonna... And I love how small his plans were, too, with these guys. Like, I'm gonna rob banks. Like, well, that's the dumbest use of these aliens, but you know what? You have a plan. So...
Use a shotgun to kill a fly.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. And then the whole reveal that it's Carrington, and he has this vendetta ever since they killed Jim. Accidentally. So.
So many memes.
Yeah.
He's dead, Jim. No, he's dead. No, he's dead, Jim. That's it.
Well, yeah. So yeah, there's that whole thing, and yeah, it's like I can understand where the misunderstanding came from. It's like they encounter these aliens, and they touch one of your friends, and then he just explodes, and it's like, I mean, yeah, it seems like they were being hostile, and you can't talk to them because they have such a different language. It's like, okay, I can understand where this came from. But him sort of spiraling out, but I mean, I guess that does sort of make sense. That does happen, that some people, they just spiral out and...
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father 20 years ago. Prepare to die.
Yeah, so...
Yes, that does happen.
Yeah, that does happen. We had the translator, which was interesting. Just, get enough parts and the doctor will build something, and it worked out. So... let's see. There was the whole thing of getting it on TV. I'd completely forgotten about the news anchor.
Yeah.
So
because he was in the first 2 episodes, and then he wasn't in the next 3, and then suddenly he's back again. It's like
he wasn't narrating anymore, so I just forgot about him. So, but yeah, and I will say, there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe he'll do the right thing. Maybe he'll be a good reporter or something. I don't know why I thought that, because he was just, when Cornish is like, oh, he's mad. What are you gonna do? And he's like, I'm gonna do what he says. I'm going to speed up the process. Like, come on, man. So yeah.
Yeah. That having been a journalist, that's, if you've got a questionable story, you sit on it. You don't publish it.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, it makes me wonder if there's a difference between a written journalist like you were and a televised journalist like he is. I wonder if maybe there's...
But, again, the sensationalist journalism is really something of the last 20 years. Yeah. I don't think in 1970 an honest reporter would have said... this story really doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah.
So I'm going to broadcast it worldwide. No, that's... because back home in the whatever studio he was with, whether he was with BBC or anything else, they're going, wait a minute, what do you think this guy's going to do? Oh, he's going to tell us about an alien invasion. The higher-ups. We used to have these things called gatekeepers. People who were the managing editors and those so forth, who would say, let's... pause that story for another 24 hours just so that we can get a little bit more facts behind it.
Yeah, maybe call his superiors. He's only a general, and he's one general in England. There have to be other people. Take it all the way to the prime minister. Like, hey, should he be doing this? Should he be making this huge? I am one general. I'm going to not go to the prime minister or anyone else in government, and I'm going to rally the world to launch 1,000 nukes at one thing in space. I would have also loved, though, if he did go through with his entire broadcast and no one, no country sided with him. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, plus, Cold War, do you really want to launch any nukes? Even if it's yes, we're all launching them up into space. I feel like someone would be like, well, but it's possible, I don't know, the Americans are looking at the Soviet Union, they might just sneak one over here in all the chaos, so maybe we'll have to sneak one over there, and then your world's gone at that point. So, And I know, crazy man, yes, all that stuff, but I feel like anyone could have gone to any of his higher-ups and been like, should he be doing this?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work, even if he still tries to do all this, someone should have tried to go to the higher-ups from him. So, and also just the whole thing of, if he's so concerned about aliens, why doesn't he take over UNIT? Then that could be an interesting story of this, this person, and then we have to get UNIT back from, this crazy man who's trying to control it, but... why wouldn't he go to UNIT? They deal with alien stuff all the time. Where was he when the Cybermen attacked or anything?
Yeah.
So, and then we had the aftermath where the doctor just left. So, that is amazing that he can just walk away and that's just that. because I mean, I guess yes, some of the aftermath I understand. The Brigadier will deal with that. I'm sure there's paperwork or cleanup or something that has to be done, but specifically also leaving Liz there, like, well, you deal with them. Bye. And it's like, I'm just going to go back and work on my TARDIS that I can't get to work, and my car that we keep using. Like, they must have paid some good money for that car, because they're using it as much as possible. Like, they have Jeeps in this episode. They can use them, but they write it in such a way that, no, we have to take the Doctor's car.
They commandeered all the other transportation, so they take the car and the bakery truck.
Yeah. It's not the most intimidating force. This yellow car with this yellow convertible and a blue bakery truck. So, yeah. We're still under 2 hours on the recording, though.
Wow, how did that happen?
I don't know, because we've been on tangents about Vlad the Impaler and the Kennedy Space Center and everything.
And Disney World.
And Disney World and 9/11 conspiracy theories, and we've still made it under the 2 hour mark on the recording.
Well, we're slipping.
Yeah. I guess that's what that extra not having 4 episodes does. Is we instead fill those 24 minutes with extra rambles. So, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. I think next episode is the finale, by the way. The season finale.
Wow.
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Now, it's seven episodes, so
okay.
We'll still go through it. But yeah, we're pretty much we're already at the last story of season 7.
So, Spearhead was 4.
Yeah. And then these last 3 serials are all 7.
What came after Spearhead?
Silurians,
that was
7.
7, so that's 11.
Then Ambassadors is 7.
That's 18.
Yeah. And then the next one, Inferno, is also 7, I believe.
That's only 25 episodes.
They're not filling the year.
No.
Remember when they literally had to fill the entire year with episodes?
Well, it makes me wonder, and I seem to now recall somebody was saying that they switched over to a format very much like what American TV was, which is because there's 52 weeks in the year, you run 26 episodes and then simply repeat those during the summertime when very few people are watching.
Yeah. Well, and I also think someone said that when Troughton ended, the time slot was filled with Star Trek until eventually they stopped doing that and switched it back to Pertwee.
Oh, yeah.
So they could be running Star Trek when Doctor Who's not on. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, next time that'll be that. And then we'll be back around to season 8, which begins with Terror of the Autons.
Oh.
So that'll be a rewatch for the two of us. But I actually had an idea for that where that same week we do another video where I introduce you to the 12th Doctor. And we watch a 12th Doctor episode.
That's Capaldi.
Yes.
Okay.
So for Terror of the Autons that week we would also do a 12th Doctor episode, and then I think it's the second serial of season 9, I think is Curse of Peladon. So we could do another one for the 13th Doctor.
Oh, okay.
So
works for me.
Yeah. And then after that, I don't really have anything else planned. I just have those because we haven't seen those. You haven't seen those 2 Doctors.
By that time, won't we be on to the 14th Doctor? Didn't I hear that Jodie Whittaker is leaving after the next at the end of whatever the current season is?
Yes, kind of. She's there's going to be a 13th season, which should be starting up like next month, I think. So I'm gonna have to get onto that. But it's going to be like a short because of COVID. It's like a 6-episode season. But then I think she has like 3 or 4 specials, and they're going to be like movie length specials apparently. But at the end of the last one, which I think will run at the end of 2022, then she'll regenerate into the 14th Doctor. So yeah, I'm hoping she goes out on a high note because there are ups and downs with her era.
Okay.
So
well, I'm just going to say to the fan base out there, I would be perfectly willing to play the 14th Doctor. So write me in.
I'm
an American. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think for when they were doing the 8th Doctor's movie, they were considering like Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford. So I think Tom Hanks turned it down because he didn't think he would do it justice or something like that. I think as an American, he was like, this needs to remain with a British actor.
Yeah.
So, and I cannot imagine Harrison Ford as the Doctor.
No.
That just seems entirely weird.
But I mean, when we saw Curse of Fatal Death, I mean, I know they put Rowan Atkinson in there, but we saw Jonathan Pryce as the Master. Good Lord, Jonathan Pryce would have made a wonderful Doctor.
Yeah.
Because he would have had not only the gravitas of the serious Doctor, but the man is a great comic actor as well.
Yeah.
And can do that with. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that was a missed opportunity. Now I don't know if I'm assuming he's too old now to do it, to want to try to do a long series like that, but he would have been great.
Yeah, I know there have been talks. I don't think there have been any rumors, but people have thought Idris Elba would be an interesting Doctor. I think they've also said that about James Bond too, that he'd be a good James Bond. And I think you one time brought up Michael Sheen.
Yeah, I would think I read somewhere that because he's first of all a big fan, and he's really good friends with David Tennant. That there are a lot of fans who said that, and he would. I mean, again, nice guy, nice little bumbling sort, but can get very serious when he needs to.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, just his audition could just be Good Omens as Aziraphale. That was pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I think with you being the Doctor, I don't think you'd actually be the oldest actor to play the Doctor. I think both John Hurt and they brought in David Bradley to play the first Doctor, and I think they were both 70. So if you got the job right this second, you wouldn't tie with them,
because I'm only 69. But if Jodie Whittaker is going through 2022, in 2 more years I will be 72.
Yeah. So. And see,
and I'd be willing to live in England while they were filming. I'd take the family with me. We got nothing here.
Dog wouldn't like it. Dog does not like rain, but he would get over it.
Well, he doesn't like Oklahoma rain. All right, Oklahoma rain is like thunderstorm rain.
I guess.
English rain tends to be rain.
It just is.
It's to us. It's like wind. Oklahoma has wind all the time. I mean, they call Chicago the Windy City. Chicago is not as windy as Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
So we see wind on a daily basis here in Oklahoma, just like, again, having lived in East Anglia for 3 years, literally saw rain on a daily basis. Whether it was 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days in a row, there seemed to be rain all the time.
And now, the other thing that I'm sure, because we're talking about you being the next Doctor, what I bet some people are also thinking this too, is the regeneration when, first off, if Jodie Whittaker turns into you, that's quite the sight.
Yeah.
But also the fact that you would then have to wear her outfit for at least 5 seconds until you got into something else.
And I don't look good in horizontal stripes.
Yeah, so, because I mean, that's the whole thing. It's sort of a toss-up on whether or not the actor gets to wear the previous actor's outfit for the whole episode, but Jodie did wear Capaldi's outfit for the entirety of her first episode before she got her other outfit. So yeah, that would be... Actually, I think... Oh my gosh, now I'm thinking there was someone... I think when it was announced that Jodie Whittaker was leaving, someone actually photoshopped my head onto her. It's like, oh, if the Doctor regenerated into me. So...
Doctor and Son. Ooh, there's an entirely new concept.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that before too. So, yeah, I don't know. You know how I said, "Oh, we're under the 2-hour mark." We're not anymore.
We're not anymore.
No, we're past the 2-hour mark.
Talk about a tangent.
Yeah, about 5 minutes ago I said, "Is there anything else we need to say?"
I got nothing.
Yeah. And with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want more tangent-filled episodes of Doctor Who Classic, there is a playlist on screen as well as another playlist with all of my tangent-filled modern Doctor Who reactions. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.